Hi guys, today we're going to be troubleshooting some network rendering with a free script to try and work out why our frames might be rendering differently. So let's open the file. Once you have the file open, you'll see there's a note here. Ensure you copied all assets to a network location and you repathed all assets to that network location using absolute paths, accessible to all render nodes. Do not adjust anything in the scene other than asset paths. Essentially, that means that you must make sure that all machines that's going to participate in the network render can see this script. For that, you need to go to your asset tracker, Shift-T is a shortcut. And in this case, that is my path to my max file that all my machines can see. Yours will probably be different. Just make sure that you save the things where all machines can see it. Here the paths are actually not there, so let's just stick it in. Must make sure that all these paths are the same and it says OK, not found or anything like that. Even though it may be found on this machine, it doesn't mean that your network machine will find it unless it says OK here. Okay, so we're going to be setting up a network render. In this case, I just want to do 2 frames because I'm going to be testing it on 2 machines. So let's say frame 0 to 1. I want to output the path. That's going to be the file name. And let's do a network render. Connect. I'm actually going to suspend it because I want to show you manually how to start it and so you can see live what happens. I'm not going to display the window. Let's submit. And in that case, I can actually now close the max file without saving. If we then go to our network monitor for the jobs, you can see the job in here and it's ready to submit. There's are my 2 machines that will participate in the render. And the frames will appear here. So I'm just going to enable the render, submit the job. So what's happening in the background now is the manager is sending the jobs to all the various machines. It's copying it over the network and Max is opening in slave mode and opening the file. As you can see, each machine has received the job and will start to render. Each machine has been assigned a different frame. There the first frame appeared from the first machine. That one is done. Let's see the next one. That one is done as well. So typically, let's say you have 20 machines or 50 machines or whatever, that's how many frames you will render. You can do more if you wish. Sometimes the machines will pick up 2 frames or 3 frames at a time. But in a small network, like say 10 to 20 machines, something like this will be fine. So once the job is complete, you can see it's done, complete. You can open the first frame. And that is what it looks like. System, render engine, other. So node, that is the machine that rendered this particular frame. 3D Studio Max, that is the render. That is the Max version, in this case 2022. And that is the full product version. GPU driver, in this case I'm using an NVIDIA. And 516.94 is the version. I recommend you always use the studio driver and not the game ready driver. Language, I included that here because sometimes in very rare cases that can influence different renders as well. Render engine, V-Ray, Corona, Redshift, F-Stomp, Arnold. Those are the basic ones that I would say most people use. In this case, Corona is giving error, Redshift is an error. That may be an actual error, or it may be just because that this node does not actually have those rendered engines installed. Forest Pack, Railclone, Tire Flow. So if you cycle through this to the next frame, the only thing that should really change is the node name. If other things change, then it means you don't have the same versions of the software installed on your network. And that can result in all kinds of strange issues with things not rendering at all, or having wrong colors or wrong position, etc, etc. So just to cycle through that, as you can see, there's actually a lot of different things change here. That Max is very outdated. It doesn't have the latest security fix like this one. This one has an older GPU driver, so if I was rendering on with a GPU engine, like for example Redshift, you may get a different render. VRAY is different. This machine has STORM, that one doesn't. Arnold is different. The Forest Pack and Rail Clone is different as well. So in Forest Pack and Rail Clone, for example, objects may be orientated differently, or they may have a slight hue adjustment or whatever. If you don't have the luxury of paid render managers like Pulse, for example, that will show you the render versions of software as well, you can use my free script and you can easily see from all your various frames what machine is the odd one out that's got the incorrect version of software compared to all your other machines. Once you've fixed all the version mismatches and you've ensured all the plugins and render engines are the same versions throughout, but you are still getting issues with mismatches on your frames, that's highly likely a bitmap issue that's not pathed correctly. That can be something, for example, like a Forest Pack asset that is still pathed using your local library on your C drive instead of something on your network that all machines can see. It's very important to use absolute paths and not relative paths or any other kind of paths. If you look at your asset tracker, all assets should say OK in the status. It should not say found, because even though it may be found on the machine you are looking at the time, the network machine will not see things that says found necessarily. So that is why this should always say OK. Check out the link in the description below to download the free zip file. Don't forget to like and subscribe my video. Cheers! Also, it's very important to use absolute paths and not the other paths that I can't remember what it's called.